Alright. Alright, I just had to launch it again. Alright, so road connect is working, system input is working. Let me change this back. The line out. Turn that down. NDI is good. Alright, good. And we're live. Okay, perfect. So today we're working on inventory system. That's going to be the preparation for next week. I want to try to have trying to get the inventory system working for multiplayer. So it's going to require a little bit more implementation, and we'll kind of go ham with it. Alright, so we have inventory slots, we have dynamic options, and what I want to be able to do is drag anything out of the slot into our inventory, and you know, kind of create like a system where you can define like the shape of each item type and make it a bit more dynamic. So whether it's you know, a 2x1 or 1x1, you know, it can be basic, it can be a little bit more extensive, it can be kind of like a 3x3. It all kind of like, you know. So I don't have the system working yet for the grid. I've just kind of basically prototyped it. And I want to convert a lot of this stuff over to be buttons. Right now they're just control nodes. I'm manually kind of determining whether I'm on the control node to determine whether we can or can't drop it. And right, so I can add items at random to the grid, but anyway, we're not at a point where we're able to work with this grid system, which is what I'm working on now. And just because I don't trust Sociably or Social Stream, so we're going to bring Chattervino up. Cool. So what we want to do is I'm just going to add it to the inventory, which is going to be our flat inventory of items. So what we might do is have the inventory itself be like, you know, the literal flat, you know, inventory. And then, you know, what way I might do this is instead of like, you know, putting it in both places, we'll add it to the inventory, and then we'll reference the specific index of the inventory in the grid dictionary itself. So it all depends. Like if I don't want to use this at all, and then we want to actually store it literally in a grid and not have a flat inventory variation of this thing, we could do it this way, but it kind of like depends, right? Like we can kind of do it both ways, but one requires a and so this might be something we do. We'll see. Hey, James, how's it going, man? Good. I'm a little bit stressed out, but I'm doing alright other than that. Anxiety is through the roof. So the ultimate way of curbing any form of anxiety is just dive into something challenging. Just distract yourself. Oh. Yeah, so this is a valid grid. Do I want to call it as valid grid index? Yeah. They're having it. It's a pretty late dinner. So anyway, we're gonna assume both exist. We're gonna use our regular inventory, and we're gonna add our item resource to the grid as well, and then we're gonna reposition it to the grid. So we need a vector 2. This will be our item position. Really, it's our index, or it'll be the perceived index. And because we're literally, we don't really care about any performance gains, like we don't, you know, so we'll just start off at vector 2 I dot 0, and we're gonna limit to max inventory items, which we haven't really defined. All we can do is we can do grid size, and then we could actually just do, yeah, we do public int max grid. Max items, and let's actually return what am I doing? Let's just do, yeah. So that. It's our item grid index. Yeah, this will always be something. It'll be 0. And then grid item dot position. Alright, this is going to be temporary because we need to do adjacencies as well, depending on the shape of the actual item. Yeah, so we're 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So x over y. Yeah, over x over y. Oh, yeah, so we're limiting by a row count and our column count. We don't really need to worry about that. Let's do yeah, so it's 4 by 4. And we're doing 0 index, so over y. And we're keying the xy. It should be good. Okay. But why are we doing... Yeah, okay, so I guess it's based on our ordering, so we should really be doing yx then. Really invert this. If we want them to stack. Yeah, we should definitely, we should be doing y first. Yeah. We will. So now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we should not be getting another valid check if we're at max capacity. So let's see, what are we doing? I'll use the washroom real quick and then continue. That's the goal. The goal of the, before Friday, I would like to get this system, this UI system working, and get it ready to be plugged into. Because ideally, our backpack inventory. Hopefully, I want to get the backpack done by the weekend. That's the goal anyway, is to have something for the weekend, as an actual model. And then over in the primary left side, which is kind of the equipment slots themselves, I'm going to have 3 primary slots and then 4 tertiary slots, which are going to have data chips a backpack itself. So when the backpack is added, to the character, the backpack inventory is shown. And really the backpack itself is just going to be an indicator of the backpack inventory for the time being. It'll eventually have its own serializable inventory of its own accord. And if you drop the backpack, you drop everything in it, but I'm just going to use it right now as an enabler. Because you'll always have this backpack for the next couple of months anyway. So anyway, backpack gets equipped. Then we have our backpack inventory. We can drag in things into the into the inventory. It's not removing it obviously from the slots right now, and it's just auto sorting it. But that's what I want. I want to be able to dynamically kind of have it work and center and scale no matter what type of item. If I ultimately just use a standard one-to-one inventory, or if I want to give it shape, I want it to kind of do a bit of everything. I want it to be a little bit of a dynamic system I can tweak for a couple different edge cases. That's why I've created a separate project for this inventory. We have some like basic item resources, which define, the shape, right, the cell size of the item within the inventory system. What the prefab, the real game object would be, the icon, if there's an iconification, and the texture, which is the main texture, and we can have our database of these. Right, so the idea is, I had to match up this data type, on the main game, but I'm already using the same structure, item resource for everything in Unforgiven space. So my goal is to kind of get these, all set up. Get the inventory, equipment stuff like the slot prefabs, like all of this will go one-to-one. We're gonna create a custom theme, and try to make it more akin to, what I envision for. I started prototyping it, but I'm not very good at 2D UI. So kind of like putting it together in 3D was kind of my original, kind of goal, like just to kind of get dimensions and see how it all fits. And I know that's kind of weird, just to, try to figure out ratios and stuff like that. But it's just how my brain works. And we're gonna do like a weapon wheel, interaction wheel, and a few other things. Right, like where's the drop zone gonna be, and like how big, how spaced out, just like, whatever. I think is going to work. So I kind of do that first, just so I can play with it in a tangible, non-2D sense. But then, of course, then you have to kind of go in and actually, create this thing, But at least if you have something in mind, like you have a concept, you can kind of see it and, I don't know, get a feel for it. And whether that, is a more effective and fast way of doing something or not. I don't know. It's just what works, It's so much faster for me to whip up something in 3D than it is to sit there making vector art. And not much of a fan, but hey, look, I mean, that is what it is, Yeah, so I need this error. Yeah, we just got an error. So we need to get the limitations and stuff like that working now. And then I think I like the idea of having a flat serializable inventory list where duplication can occur. And then having a visual representation of that inventory, which can have dynamic slots and like move things around, and it's kind of, because it is only like where things are in the inventory isn't really important. What is important is obviously like you can interact with it and kind of organize it, and it just needs to be, you need to be able to quickly move things, where you need them, on the fly. So I'll be right back. I'm going to use the washroom, and we'll continue. Yeah, so we need max, and max should just be, you know, like we're at max capacity. We can't do anything. Return. Don't add this item anymore. So we'll do that here now. Because we can still like get a next free index. Because I don't want to return like the last valid free index. So we're not returning a null. I don't want to do that. So add item. Items null. I'll say if max item. Yeah, because we just see what's our current max grid items. Oh, yeah. We do greater or equal on that. It shouldn't be age based. We gotta worry about. But yeah, because if we're doing, yeah, it should be 6 and 0. That should work fine. Alright, so I need to be able to drop from this. So now the question is if I want to actually make these be buttons or not. Inventory grid item button. Yeah, so we're gonna do a button variant. And then we're going to save out a full template override. And similar to this one. So for theme overrides, oh, I hate that we have to actually copy the yeah, inventory, grid, item, button. Hmm. Twenty. Okay. Yes, how do I want to do? We need a drop icon. I think 10 works fine. I modulate this. Convert colors with editor theme. Run down order. And where's the YouTube chat working today? We're live. Yep. Hey, Mongolo, how's it going? Did you see Arshan got partner earlier? Oh, dude, that's amazing. Nope, I didn't see it on my Twitter space. I don't know if the this. I'm surprised he hasn't posted it. It was a mad celebration on stream. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't announced it. I'm gonna mute this real quick in case he's still live. Nice. That's awesome. You know, just a little bit more rev split and a little bit more exposure. Never a bad thing. Given especially we're doing it anyway. You know what I mean? We're just streaming while we're working on the game. So, I mean, why not? That's great. I'm here suffering with you on. I wouldn't say I'm suffering with you on, but every time that happens, we need to. I made some more work on multiplayer arena level. Pick in Discord. It's starting to look like something. Oh, this is great. Cool. Nice. And this is with the gravity. Or the one that you were showing originally, only now like as an actual arena. Yeah, that's awesome. I like the reflections. Yeah, so if this added successfully, we should be nuking. Oh yeah, that was something. I don't know for a while. Hang on a second. We can set it to be null. Gotta love when you can work in Blender seamlessly. So the green plate on the walls are mesh for one plate, two arrays, and the mirror with object offset. Nice. Yeah, it's looking good. Do you have a clip of you playing it yet? Or like playing the level? Working build's been up on it for a while. Oh, this one? Do you want to link it again? Like with the update, you mean? I'm not pushing it. I'm not pushing it since it really needs a lot of work. Oh, okay. Because I think I did see that the original build. It works, Dan. What are these? Oh. What was early return if we're clearing it? Actually, I don't really like that. Me found a nice trail add-on, by the way. It adds a single node, and you can super simply do trails. Oh wait, it's called GPU trail. Let's go. GPU accelerate trail running for improved performance. Customized trail length. Texture supports color ramps with curves. Billboard mode for camera-facing trails. This is what I've wanted forever. And this is what hasn't been done. Like, right? De-wiggle and clip overlay features from improved trail appearance. Oh man, this does exactly what I wanted for a trail renderer originally. That's awesome. Port to Godot 3.5. Oh, backport it. Yeah, it should look nice on missiles, thrusters, and such. Nice. It's actually great. I'm gonna send it to myself. Yeah. change this to use the grid item button, but we're going to need to actually change all the themes if we're going to use the buttons instead of the controls, which is annoying. Inventory grid button. In the shooter, I replaced the awful bell. Oh, the awful ball with a rocket, and it needed a trail, so I grabbed that one. It was super simple to use. Nice. There was one I saw before that, and it was terrible. And now the missile has a nice tapering trail after it. It makes it so much nicer when it lands. Yeah, like for all of mine, as long as there's like a cross, you know what I mean, like a cross texture, that I could apply, you know, it will be perfect. Yeah, so the item grid button instead. Oh, this is the old version. Yeah, so we'll just swap this out for the button version instead of the control version. Yeah, it's a trail type. Like, ribbon trail. One of these. Only one of these with the no back base. That's what the billboard's for. And the billboard actually works this time. Like from any angle. It correctly does the vertex offsets. Oh, okay, perfect. That's why I ended up creating these in the game, because, you know. Because then you can apply anything, you know what I mean? Then you can apply your regular shader effects to them. You know, and still have all, like, the, you know, bit of both worlds, right? I have a bit of an issue since like spawns a projectile on the player's face, so billboards freak out. Oh, like, gotcha. So inventory slot button, inventory grid item button. This one instead. Are you making a game? Hey, Fractured Gamer. Yep, making a game called Unforgiven Space. It is a space trucking, like a Star Citizen-esque game. Right now, this evening, we're working on a prototype for the inventory system. So we can kind of drag and drop things on the ground. Right, populate it with random things. But yeah, let me show you the actual game real quick. I should have this ready for Friday. I just need to convert all those control nodes from controls to, yeah, yes, weapon tweaks is on the list. Let it load. I close that other project real quick, just so I can give you the gist. This is the game. It's called Unforgiven Space. It is a space trucking, kind of like a Star Citizen-like clone. And we just speed up the mouse here. The mouse movement itself is like super choppy in the editor, but it's not. It is just the way the mouse works. But yeah, you pretty much have your standard spaceship. You can upgrade every component. You buy cargo. You bring it from A to B. Everything on the ship is upgradable. I'm currently in the process of changing the exterior of the ship, so things are very broken right now. So think like old school Freelancer as a first person shooter. Right, so we have and all the components are physicalized. What program do you use to do all this? I've been trying with Unreal Engine. I'm using Godot. But I write all my systems pretty much from scratch. I don't think the engine really matters. Right? It's a full multiplayer game, so you can play with multiple people. Servers will handle up to around 25 players in the early stages. Every aspect of this is pretty much working at a fundamental level. Like, you know, you buy cargo, you put it on the ship, you go from A to B. If I kind of just show you here as an example, like here's like some of the decoration stuff. So like I can buy pretty much components. I'm actually just buying stuff right now to decorate my own little apartment building. But right, so these are just physical components. I can take them, put them in my habitation module. And this is all, like I said, all this is pretty much going to be all multiplayer compatible. Oh. Right, so you can have your, your home away from home. That's really cool. Hello from me, Pixel. Hey. Right, so here, let me just, decorate the. let me play Sims 4 simulator here. But the ship interior is exactly the same concept. We have all modules in the ship can be customized, right? So players can kind of have their own little world and everything scales. You just head over and jump in the ship. Doors, like you see, all the thrusters are kind of hidden away because I've been extending out the design of the side of the ship, so the exterior door is currently not working, and things are a little bit jank right now, but it was originally written in Unity. Like I started it with Unity. I ran into a lot of limitations with Unity. And those limitations were like, yeah, I need to be able to like go anywhere. Like even in Unreal, the coordinate system for the game, unless you enable beta support for like large world coordinates, you run into limitations. And a lot of this stuff is because the character model is so much taller. Things are a little bit janky right now. Right, but yeah, I can target ships. I can shoot missiles at them, blow them up. I mean, a lot of systems are done, right? It's just a matter of from the missiles. Nope, you just like pass them. Come on, missile, come back. But yeah, it's pretty much like my little Star Citizen clone, a little multiplayer Star Citizen clone in Godot. A lot of things. I mean, let me get out of the kind of the main test project, and I'll show you how the multiplayer is. I'm glad you found my channel. Yeah, things are like a little very janky right now, and they're very janky right now because of this inventory overhaul. So before, for testing purposes, I just had each player's prefab have each of the weapons, right? There's only 3 weapon types right now, so I just pre-spawn them in with their weapon slots, populated with each of the 3 weapons, turn them on, off, depending on their weapon loadout configuration. Because that works pretty good for kind of getting going. And so let's use Fractured Gamer as an example. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and host a server. Right, we have 100 NPCs, all synchronized. So we're going to connect as Fractured Gamer. And Fractured, pick a color, any color you want. And I'll explain. We could use your YouTube, so maybe we could use a red. It doesn't really matter. I'm not sure what the lag is like. Green, there we go. We're going to use green. Perfect. All right, so male prefab's fine. Join in. So what I want to do is just show you how synchronized everything is. Now, the characters just take a second for them to kind of all sync, but because there's 100 of them, they're meant to be a network test. You know what I mean? There needs to be so many of them, that all their animation state needs to be synchronized. So check it out. So here's Fractured. Fractured is in the game. All of Fractured's IK is fully working. Right? You can crouch, sneak around. Everything's fully synced. All the weapon systems are synchronized. The data terminal that Fractured uses to interact with the game, right? His little Moby glass, right, fully works. Right, so Fractured is good. Fractured can chat, say what's up. There's Fractured. I can go back to the server. Bond. It's all good. Right. So anyway, let's go and take Fractured here, and let's come over here and let's spawn in Fractured chip. So let's go and take the server. We're going to bring them over here just to demonstrate. So here we are observing as the server character. Right, so this is Fractured chip. So everything, weapons and stuff, you see it's all working. If I jump in, you can see I can push the ship with full authority over it. You can see Fractured interacting with the seats. Right, all the seat animations are fully synchronized. You can see them getting in. Now the whole ship systems are online, so you can see that, all the gimbals and everything, right, are fully synchronized. Right, you can take off, leave, and turn on the quantum drive. All right, we can go down to a planet. All right, so all while this is happening, there's 100 NPCs back at the station. We're just going to come down here and land. Kind of decrease my thrust output. All right, so let's go and join Fractured. So we're going to leave this area, spawning our own ship. And now I could go with Fractured, but I think I think I got rid of the co-pilot seats working. They're not working or something. Anyway, let's go find them. Right, so check it out down here on the planet. Down here, they're small planets right now. They're only meant to be an example. Well, they have their own gravity. And their own gravity is working. So you can see everything is working, everything's synchronized. I can come in and land. I can get out. I can, just ignore the force being pulled down upon me. Right, but this is everything that you need. This is the fundamentals, right? Everything you need to get started. Right, I can run around the planet. We have full gravitational, real gravity. We have vehicles. This is all, working. Right? If I keep on going, eventually the horizon line will change, and right, and the curvature of the planet, blah blah blah. So most of the core tech needed to kind of get the game off the ground, that's pretty much kind of working at a fundamental level. NPCs need to be able to spawn their own ships in. Flight model needs tweaking. There's a huge list of stuff that needs to be, fully. See, look, there we go on the other side of the planet. Right? You're on a. I wish I could. I wish I could do this. You're awesome. Thanks. I see you're using Godot. How are you finding it? I'm using it for 2D platformer I'm making. Oh, I find Godot would be perfectly fine. I don't like. There's a thing, you know what I mean, guys. I don't believe engines are the limitation when it comes to anything. Like, if you have access to build a compute shader, if you can make your own shaders, if you can just, if you have access to the render pipeline the game engine's using, if you right, like there's no real limitations, or if in the case you're able to make changes to the engine like you can with Godot, you're pretty much in a good spot. I don't know where that player went. Hang on, it's where did he go? Where is the player? I don't see him. He's somewhere between. Alright, like, this is only a 500-meter planet, so it's kind of interesting that I've lost the other player on this little sphere. I play around with Blender. I do a ridiculous amount of Blender. Oh, there we go. There he is. Hang on. I see my other... Where is he? Oh, I'm looking at him. Oh, there's the other player. Oh, nice. What game are you making? It looks like a space type game. Yeah. The game is called Unforgiven Space. I'm testing multiplayer right now. It is a space adventure epic. Let me just warp back to the station. Danicus! Oh god, we're gonna do quick. When is it the bottom side? It's totally the bottom side. Right, so we can shut down comrades and, do some piracy, do some smuggling, be a bad guy, be a good guy, whatever you want to do. Looks pretty good so far. I'm trying to make a 2D platformer. I just worked out telemap layers in Godot 4.3. Nice. How's it going? Oh, Fractured, you're on YouTube as well, or Twitch as well. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll bring the game back up again in its final form, just so you can kind of understand. I just want to show Fracture this particular thing, because it's more like the Unforgiven Systems project, as I call it. Is a fundamental project that has all of the gameplay systems. So like, I can swap out all the components on the ship. I can test the missiles. I can bring the ship into the hangar, swap out all the components. It's very hard to swap out all the components when the ship currently has panels. You got to create all the mechanisms of actually accessing everything. Whereas the gray box version, everything is cut away, and you can just immediately play around with it. So I generally do 2 builds. I have the Unforgiven Systems build, which pushes all of its code into Unforgiven Space, which is like the main branch, we could call it. But it's really the same code base, same game. It's just I've swapped out in Unforgiven Space all of the prefabs with their final prefabs, right? I had to mute YouTube because it's a little ahead of Twitch. Yeah, I like YouTube more. Like, YouTube has been fantastic. I found a lot more audience on YouTube for the most part. So this is what Unforgiven Space actually looks like. It's a lot more detailed than you just saw on the right, so here's like the actual detail of all the consoles, all the ship components are all physicalized. So like, here's the shield generators, and they each have like connectors for each of the shield uplinks, right? You know, we have you know, all the different component systems, airlocks, grav plates, you know, which attach everything. You can have your own little home away from home. On the main truck stop, we have these little habitation modules that you can customize. It's meant to be like Star Citizen, you know, but it's meant to be a Sea of Thieves in space. You know, I'm not trying to remake Star Citizen. I'm trying to bring to life the 2012 vision of SC. You know, back before you know, there was oh, I'm gonna get this thing to move. Yeah, I want to show you the there we go. Okay, so here's the main male character. All of the IK is working. Right, we can grab all of our components and stick them on the ship. I mean, it's not out yet. You know what I mean? Like it's still being worked on. They have like $750,000. You know what I mean? And yet here's me. Like I'm just one guy. You know what I mean? And I work a full-time job, and I'm a dad. And I'm just sitting here every single afternoon, streaming on Twitch and YouTube. You know, putting in the time. You know, making everything work, and trying to create something different. You know, but equivalent. It's something where we don't have 150 spaceships. We just have, you know, 7, right? We can still do all the other things of SC. We can still do cargo missions, trading, you know, the whole reputation system, right? I can do, you know, I can do a mission, right, which has a pickup and a drop off, so I can, like, you know, go and open up the door and grab our container and bring it, you know, across the universe. Yeah, in this test scene, obviously, there's only one thing, but, you know. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a dad, and I'm a one-man team. And a one-man team is just too hard to get the time to do stuff. Yeah, you need to have, like, really good project management. Project management skills are like extremely like necessary, because you need to understand how long certain things are going to take you. And you know, and what I've been doing for Unforgiven Space is I've been very transparent with the community. I push stuff to the Patreon, so you know, funding model is it's just Patreon monolithic. And my thought process, you know, is if I just keep doing builds, if every single, you know, couple of weeks I'm just pushing builds and pushing builds and pushing builds and pushing builds, eventually we're going to have a video game. You know what I mean? Eventually, as more people are playing it and testing it and realizing, wait a second, this is actually fun. You know what I mean? Like, I've been enjoying this. This is actually working. All of my models are in Blender. Yep. All assets are pretty much my own Blender workflow. And from the time I switched over from Unity, which was like the biggest setback, is, you know, going from Unity to Godot was a lot of work. It was 6 months to port the entire game to Godot. Full controller support in the game, like full controller support. And I'll have remapping eventually for it. Yeah, it just takes time. It's kind of hard to do marketing for mine. Well, I guess Patreon is a great idea too. Yeah, like the marketing is me working on it. Like if you're going to work on the game, you might as well stream yourself working on the game. That's my thought process. Eventually I'll find more individuals like yourself, like everyone, you know. It doesn't matter if people join the Patreon. Like we need to get to a certain price point, obviously, so that I can, you know, hire some people and you know, and scale the project. But, you know, people that are just helping out, even at the $5 tier, I mean, it's enough data. It's one of those things that if I had, you know, like $20, $10 Patreons, or like $100, $5 Patreons, whatever the maximum like server capability would be, like I'd already be kind of suffering from success. You know, it's kind of like once I hit around like 1600 USD, I will be working on the game full time anyway. You know what I mean? Like, or you know, as best as I can is my idea, right? Like once like things get to a certain point, or what I'll probably be doing, depending on like real world, you know, like life situations, is a lot of this will be put into outsourcing art. You know, like I would like to get to a point with the studio where I can hire an artist full time. And that would be like the ultimate, you know. And then after that, someone like a gameplay engineer or someone who's kind of like half lore, like half writer, half you know, a writer with a little bit of like game engine experience. You know what I mean? That's what I do with True Fiber. Kind of great one there. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like my process. So it's just patreon.com monolithic. That's the idea. Looks like we have yeah, and I think I think it'll grow. Definitely think it'll grow. Because I've been slowly posting stuff on social media and slowly kind of getting things like to that level. And you know, eventually we'll get there and it'll be fun and right, but it's got all the core elements of the game, right? It's slowly fleshing itself out. It's you know, we'll get there. And but it's gonna it takes time. Like making the stations, making the prefabs. I've been kind of going through and gray boxing everything first, and then making it playable. And you know, so then I kind of know, like, cool, this works. And you know, I can buy, sell commodities. But then later on, I'm like, okay, well, you know, what is this? You know, what does this new commodity look like? What's the box? You know, how does it work? And like start actually like fleshing out, like what are the different shield generators? What do they look like? Are they all the same, you know, primitive shape? Are they not? How many variations do we want to have? I have a thing where the level needs to be perfect, and I don't like one thing. I just change it, scrap the whole thing. Yeah, that's gonna negatively affect your ability to deliver, though. Because if you're gonna keep scrapping the level, then you're not gonna have gameplay feedback. And if you don't have gameplay feedback, then you don't know if it's fun. But you're still designing and making something graphically without knowing if what you're making is fun. Like, don't be very cautious that you're not polishing a turd of some sorts. You know what I mean? Because until someone actually, you know, jumps on and grabs a controller and actually plays it, and they're like, okay, I like this, I don't like this, this is dumb, this is stupid. You know, it's kind of you know, you could be building your own dream game and maybe not a and to a certain extent passion projects are necessary. Like, this is still a dream game of mine, but it still takes a lot of influence from Star Citizen. So that's kind of my market. You know, my market is Star Citizen players that I'm trying to cater to a certain degree, and the hope is that it works. You know, and but you know, it might not work. You know, it kind of really depends on how long it takes me to develop the game, what the turnaround rate in development is going to be, and you know, how long it takes to kind of get systems online. Like, you know, and you can't really start marketing it until you kind of have a lot of the stuff in place, or people are just going to look at it and be like, well, this is not done. You know, I just love all space games. Yep. Yeah, and for me, this is a dream game, because like there was a lot of elements. I used to play MUDs back in the day. One was Star Wars Rise and Power, and in that game there was really good smuggling. There was actual like really good smuggling, like putting weapons like in bags and on your person, and like, you know, sneaking past guards. You know, like actual smuggling, and it was really good. You could do spice running. You could like, you know, manufacture a spice and you can run it, and you know what I mean? Like, all that stuff is great, and it's not done in a lot of games. You know what I mean? So like, I could literally just take a formula, you know, that I've seen and enjoyed myself back in the 90s, you know, back when this mud came out. And oh no. You know, and see if people like it, right? Because on the surface it kind of looks more like Star Citizen, but ideally it's a different game, you know. It's got different goals, it's got a different background, a different lore, and you know, gravity is so slow. You're supposed to be editing tomorrow's video, but now I'm procrastinating. You're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to go and do it. Anyway, we're supposed to be working on a UI system, so, I mean, speaking of procrastinating. But anyway, I want to show you guys that. So anyway, what I'm trying to do in multiplayer, mine's like Mario, but with a different characters and enemies. Gotcha. Is we want to make it so we can drop items on the ground and have other players pick it up. So we need to be able to go from a serialized player inventory into the world, which has server authority, and then be picked up by another player. So the idea should be like, the player has no inventory. The player goes and buys a gun for themselves and then equips it, and then it is equipped. But I want that authority sorted out right now, like early. Right, so right now we have the 3 weapons auto spawning on all players. So each player has their own equipment. We can see that in the multiplayer test, and it works fine. But we need to, but players need other ways of working with their inventory. Oh, thanks for the follow. Right, so we have like, when this loads, it just spawns in a couple of random items. And what I've been doing is baking out the, the inventory sprites. So we have like textures, and right, so these can be dragged into, the inventory. Right, we can add a bunch of random stuff. Right, we can drag them down to the, drop item. So ideally, this would be like, your character would be here. Very much like Star Citizen. This is a floating overlay that you can bring up at any point. The backpack inventory only appears if you have a backpack on, so it's dependent upon a backpack. If you don't have a backpack, you can only see the left side equipment, right? So what slots you have, what you have in each of those slots, and your primary 4 tool items. So the actual backpack would be over here. When you socket the backpack in, or you pick up the first backpack, which is now on your person as a part of your flight suit, right? This will give you your backpack inventory. So anything you grab and pick up in the world, it goes to your backpack inventory, and you can go and kind of drag it from to and from, and that's kind of what we're prototyping. That's the goal, is to kind of get this working. But I started changing this out, so we're going to be using buttons. I'm using controls right now, and controls are great if you're just using them to get like bounds, but it adds terrible controller support, right? So last week, which I haven't pushed yet actually, I was working on the character customizer. I'll bring up the systems version, because I'll show. There's a lot, like UI is a lot of work if you haven't done a lot of UI, because it's very easy to half-ass it and like kind of get things working, but when you really put the time in, right? So here's, like, as an example, here's the character select screen. Oh, that's the right one. And player customizer. Right, so here is the player customization UI, and if we hit play. So although it doesn't seem like much, right? This is a UI. I don't need 2 of them, right? Scalable. It's dynamic. We put in our handle. But check this out. As I change the body type from male to female, right, it changes a whole different prefab. As I change the skin tone, it changes the shader properties. Ideally, this would be driving parameters that are fed into the actual skin shader. Right, like what type of albedo it is. Body mass is a blend shape slider for sliding how crazy the body is, and we have different heads as I'm picking heads. Right, obviously they're not changing on systems, but on the main game there's different heads and different hairs, and kind of as I'm moving from component to component, right, this is all changing, right, from male to female. But this needs to be controller supported. So now, right, I need to be able to do all of this right? Including male and female, and all the tones, and even like the amount that we increase and decrease. Because you could be holding the left and right button for like, 30 seconds. So like what interval on the slider needs to exist? How do we, adjust factions? How do we get back to the handle? And even down here on the back button, if I go right, where do I go? So like just kind of just this little stuff for controller support, being able to kind of from submit go back over to back and have it kind of like have the neighbors, you know what I mean? Like this, to go around, right? Out with the controller, right? Because the whole the whole flow has to be, you know what I mean? Like taken into consideration, it's not just, you know what I mean, mouse and keyboard. It's got to be everything. So those are like those are little things you have to think about, when you're making it, even in Greybox. You should try to make it one time and then not, plug it in and not have to worry about it. But yeah, you'd be surprised because you could go crazy and make all the UI, and now later on you're like, oh no, I need to add controller support, and now you don't realize it, but you probably have like 6 weeks of controller support ahead of you, because you weren't thinking about, the tab ordering and the focuses and like the way, the way it's all set up. You just like threw a whole bunch of crap, a whole bunch of control nodes. And so little things like that take a lot more time than you think, and they're like, so that, was last week, I guess, week and a half, kind of getting that in, so that we could have the real, character selector for the final version of the character. So that got finished. So now it's just, getting the inventory UI, because now I think it's just this. Let me just see. Yeah, so I think I have so this is how it used to look like, doesn't even kind of focus. It's like, terrible. Right, so this was like something I put together while in Systems Project. But in reality, under the hood, we just have, we have 3 different weapon slots. So we have unarmed, right, our rifle, our data pad, and our multi-tool. And but there's no way right now of dropping them. I can't like click anything. So what I want to do is add a weapon wheel, like an interaction wheel. So depending on like if I have an item in my hand, and I hold F or one of the buttons, right now F is just toggle, but if I hold one of the buttons, it'll bring up a prompt, and that prompt itself will have like kind of like a wheel where we can drop. So what I want to do is have by default, the upward side will always be the interaction. So whatever the interaction is for the item, down will be drop, and then left and right, east would be like customize, and then right would be place if it's a placeable. So there's these 4 options that appear when you're holding something. So this way, if you're holding a weapon, and you just hold that button, you can then move your, you can just quickly, it's a weapon wheel, go to drop, and you'll just drop it. Or you can go into customize, and it'll bring up the customization menu for the gun. Or you can hold F and interact if there's something you're holding and it has some custom interaction of some types, like to deploy itself or whatever. And then that's kind of a default thing, like when we're interacting with stuff. So ideally, when we bring up that inventory and we have something in our inventory instead, what I want to be able to do is drag it down to the drop icon. And then once we bring it down to the drop icon, it will, it'll actually appear at our feet. We can actually place things as well. One of the things, like, if you notice, while I'm tractoring something, let me go back. Yeah, so when I tractor something, notice here, right, it's creating a silhouette of where that thing is going to go, right? That's only appearing because we're on a snap point, so that is where it would be. And I don't know why the gravity's freaking out right now, but I can make those appear permanently. So pretty much like, you know, on the normal of my interaction, I can actually move that, you know, kind of like clone, and then when I let it go, it'll go there. So if I'm holding like a coffee mug or something, I can hold F, and I can just, you know, it shows like a little silhouette, and then wherever that silhouette goes, you know, when I let it go, you know, that's where it'll end up. Works pretty much like something I'm tractoring, only it keeps the item reference in the hand, and then creates the clone, and just puts the clone wherever the intersection of the raycast is, and then when you click, that's where it goes. So you can drop things and place things, pick things up, and you know. I love how this glitches out. If you don't give it enough time to finish the sitting animation, if I just kind of like wait a second before I give it input, it works. Right, I can go up to the side, click, and then I'm in. Yeah, the buggy's cool, but there's nothing to do in the buggy. Like, there's no reason for the buggy right now. I just want to kind of get it in the game. Oh yeah, it was a test planet size, so I had something that I could drive around the planet just to kind of get an idea of how long it takes, you know, to get somewhere and to move around. Okay, so that's the idea, or that's what we're trying to solve. Anyway, so we want to replace these control nodes with actual buttons, and then we're going to make those buttons be interactable. So originally I was going to simplify the design, and yeah, thank you for showing and telling. Absolutely amazing, and definitely check out our Discord. It is the best way of, you know, in the Discord you actually can see this out. You're already here. You guys are awesome. If you come down to Tracker, check it out. So this is everything. This is like the real time, everything that I'm getting done every single day. Right? So this way, there's accountability. You know what I mean? The reality is I'm one person making a pretty ambitious space game, right? Like that, it is what it is, you know? But, you know, people can actually, especially people that are giving me money, people that are supporting the project and are a member of Patreon, at least they can see the rate of progress. You know what I mean? It might not be the best rate of progress. Only growth will change that. You know what I mean? Only the ability to kind of scale, but it exists. You know what I mean? And that's good. And in progress, I have different pictures. You know, like prototypes from yesterday's stream, and some of the work that I'm doing on the ship component stuff. So we have a whole asteroid system. You know, everything is all. Yeah, you can get a look-see. Yeah, so we want to use the button prefab instead. And it really is kind of the same thing, just one's a button, so this should still work. It'll just look like crap. Yeah, so now we have a button version, which means that if we're using the controller, these should be highlightable. Now, they might be disabled by default, but we will. Yeah, they are, because I can't actually tab. I can only go from here. Yeah, it won't let me go over. And it won't let me select. but it's not bad. So we need, for this button, I think we will actually want, well, I'll do path. Have a great night, YouTube Factory. I'm probably gonna do another like 30 minutes for tonight. Yeah, I wonder, we need to get the input. Because here where this is working, once we add one, yeah, so these are actually working. And let me just confirm. Button mass, button pressed. We didn't input good. We hover, we focus. So I'm gonna copy this one into focus. I'm gonna make it unique. And for the background of focus, we want to go with that same cyan at 16. And that shouldn't be changing the border. It should be modifying normal. Okay, so it is working because we're here. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're back. But they're not highlighting correctly. Thanks again for the follow, Factory Gaming. Yeah, it's like totally not quite selecting them. So in focus, order. Yeah, the border color technically would be a little bit different. Let me just change it to something. I want to make sure this is actually working. Look at this guy. How's it going, Fixies? Yeah, and then we'll go something like this. And make it 32. We doing icons? We doing icons, yeah. Yeah, so the focus, so let's drag 1, 2. Oh, it is working. Let me check controller support. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we actually do technically have controller support. The ordering. Oh, because we're kind of spawning them top to bottom. Right. So technically, hang on. So let me add a couple more. The way that we're adding these. The indexing. Right, so if we go this way, we're actually going. When we're adding the second one. Yeah, I wonder if we can do it. So every time we're that's what we should do. We should actually, when we're spawning them, get the previous in the index and set the neighbor. So this way, the inventory system, if we keep going left with the controller, it'll always kind of go through them. You know what I mean? So it'll kind of. Yeah, because they're the neighbors. I don't know why the neighbors are like that here. It does like the same thing. Is inventory hard to do? If you want controller support. I keep saying like input processing, doing good UI is hard. There's a lot of things like getting it to work. You know what I mean? Is one thing. Like, you know, just get it to work, and you know you can add things and remove things, and but then getting it to work well. You know what I mean? That's the issue. Yeah. So if we're spawning them this way, does the focus work? So if we select one. No, it's still doing it. It's still like nearest neighbor. Let's check the button. So the grid item button, focus. Yeah, we don't want pass on the grid button. We kind of want it. This might change. So in focus, so in our ordering, Z as relative, the Z order, Y sort enabled. Oh, hang on. If true, and this is a child of canvas item nodes with a higher Y position. Oh, ordering, visual ordering, never mind, that's fine. It's max constraint outline size will be 0. Actually, because we want to be controlling that ourselves. Focus, yeah, focus mode. Should be on all. That's the issue. We don't have our next and previous. This should be dynamic, but it's getting one thing to work, then other things break. A little bit, yeah. I wasn't going to use buttons. It wasn't going to be a thing. It was actually easier to use standard control nodes and like get the mouse position, and kind of like every control node has a function that you can just use in the item UI. Right, we can actually just, in the inventory grid, right, we can actually determine if the rect of this control, the grid itself, has a point, right, which is based upon the local position. Then we know that we're in the control, right? Are you using C#? I'm using normal JavaScript. They're exactly the same as far as API utilization. They're just written differently. I use C# because it's just a little bit more testable. Debugging is a little bit easier for me, and scaling is a little bit easier. If you think about, like, I want to build an MMO. If I need to hire someone, you know what I mean? And I only have GD script on the table, it's going to be a lot harder to find a GD script developer, which is only used in the Godot ecosystem, versus finding a C# dev who might have, I don't know, like 10 years experience building APIs or something, you know? Because Godot itself is, like, the tool is easy to learn, like straightforward. So it's easier to just kind of, hey, like, learn Godot and kind of jump right in and, you know, kind of work on the game. So that's the argument, or that's my argument. Like, I believe, like, because I've seen many people who work in C# as well for their day job, and they use GD script, you know, because they want to break. You know what I mean? They don't, you know, they just spent, you know, 8 hours working in C#. I just got home. I'm just going to use GD script, you know. So there's no right or wrong language. You can use them interchangeably within the project, assuming you're just using Godot mono. But I find, from a technical perspective, like, if you, let's say gaming doesn't work, or let's say game dev doesn't pan out. I mean, every product, no matter if it's a game or not, right? Everything is a project. It's a product, and, you know, it has like a 20% chance. You know, there's probably like an 80% chance the market says, nah, this is probably not that good, right? So you have, like, you know, like anything you create, you know, the market is the market. It might not work out. So, you know, at the end of the day, at least with C#, you can always become an engineer. You know what I mean? You can always take that skill set and do non-game dev stuff, and maybe that non-game dev stuff pays the bills, enables you to keep trying again, making more projects, making different revisions, changing things. You know, so that's like the different languages. The other thing as well, you can use other stuff. You know, you can use any .NET package in Godot. Then you can use libVLC. You can use, you know, Newtonsoft JSON parser. You can just .NET install whatever package you want. And so you have more options available to you in the .NET ecosystem that could help you, you know, depending on what it is you're trying to create. You know, if you want to add SQLite or something, you want to create like a database, you know, dump a bunch of high scores, or, you know, you have those options, but you can also just use resources. You know, there's nothing stopping you. Sky's the limit. Yeah, when we're placing these, Godot, focus, neighbor. I use ChatGPT. I know it's the wrong thing, but I'm a more visual person, not a coder. ChatGPT. I use it all the time. I use it for thousands of things. Right? I understand the code that it's telling me, so why waste time trying to figure it out? You know what I mean? Right? Like, it's right? Very, very simple when you just want to, like, figure out something. Hey, you know what I mean? I had this very simple, you know, vector 3i item resource, you know, dictionary, and you know, all I want to do is how do I get it next free index, and it gives me the code. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, that works. You still got to use your own brain, you know what I mean, to figure out. You got to know what ChatGPT is giving you. But like, you know, you can whip things up really quick, you know, and that, you know, but just don't get too. Make sure you understand, you know, what's telling you, right? Right, like, so like little things like that, like how do I set the autofocus of neighbors? We know we can set them in code. Right, we can get the path of the neighbor. That sounds silly. Right, we could do automatic based on position. Right, here's the, you know, we can do like button.focus neighbor right is button 1, not get path, button 2. This is kind of silly. Right, you ask it thing, it cross references. Right, like this kind of works. This kind of slow. Like, you know, it'll just go through all of the buttons that have loaded, calculate the row and height column based on the grid width, go through each one of them and calculate the neighbors, and then correct the neighbors if they exist. So, you know, like this is pretty straightforward. But this would be like, you know, like it's a lot of code, but you can see it works. You can see what it's doing for each of the buttons. Right, if it is a button, get our row and column based on our position, you know, go through and calculate. It's a bit expensive, but you know, if the neighbor button 1 that mouse by is a button, then you know, using that row column, right, it's telling you what it's doing. Right, so it lets the parent automatically manage focus of all the nodes. I think so. From what I've seen, like you get a little bit of time, but I mean, like I've been using, you know, ChatGPT for a while. Like you'd be surprised, like, even for shaders, right? For building up like fragment shaders for like a heartbeat simulation, like, you know, just don't. It's always worth the 20 cents to ask the question. You know what I mean? Like what or the 20 seconds, right? Like what's 20 seconds of time? To get an opinion, versus sitting there looking through the documentation. Like you should be like it should be ChatGPT. See what they say. You know, go into that. You know, go into the actual documentation. Go into the code. Right. See what properties exists. What they do. What's the deal? You know what I mean? Like learn it anyway. Right. You should know every single thing about every node type. Right. What are all the properties of a node 3D? What are all the properties of, right, like all of the, like, you know, you should just be slowly studying these things. They will help you, you know, like what's the deal with a vaccine? What does a vaccine have? What's, you know, there's so much here, you know what I mean? In a self-explanatory way. You can learn from the code. And then finally, you know what I mean? You chat GPT'd it, you read the documentation, and then you try random shit, you see what works, you know? And if nothing works, then you can go to GitHub, hang on. Then you go to GitHub, okay? And then you look for, in GitHub, no, multi-mesh instance 3D, right, inside, you know, GitHub itself. Right, so multi-mesh instance 3D. And then you start finding maybe I'm Like, say we want to. I don't have one here. What is it? Multi-mesh. Instance 3D by spelling. Oh yeah, code. There we go. Look at that. So I can literally, just by looking for multi-mesh instance 3D and then searching it by C#. Look at this. I can see anyone who's ever made anything, right? A tornado multi-mesh instance, right? Some multicellular metaball, right? These are all people that are using C# that have made something. Don't make something that has already been made. You know what I mean? Don't waste time, right? Anything you're doing in a video game is not unique. Only the collective vision of your game is probably unique. Everyone's made a fucking inventory system. Everyone's made dynamic grass. Everyone's made terrain. Everyone's made all these things. They exist already. Someone's made it. It's probably on a GitHub somewhere. You know what I mean? I literally have, you know what I mean, 55 different results, you know, of different things that may not be useful. But like, what's grass multi-mesh? Well, it's a whole script here by this person's game, and it creates blades of grass, and it, you know, instantiates them. And, you know, you can see how they did it. How did they do the thing? How did someone else do it? What's their deal? And finally, when all of that fails, when everything fails, then you go to YouTube, which sucks, you know. Like, don't, you know, multi-mesh instance, you know, grass, you know. And then you look at like tutorials that are a half a year old or more than a year old, where the API is probably changed, and, you know, because maybe it's 4.2 or 4.1, right? And now you're in tutorial hell, but you should have never got to this point. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have gotten to tutorial hell in the first place, because it should be the last place you go when you can't figure out something. Make sense? Otherwise, you're just wasting time. You have a game to make. You know what I mean? You have a game to make. You know, we don't have time to be messing around. Right? So you use Copilot, use ChatGPT, use GitHub. Open source game engine has a lot of open source projects. Yeah, thanks for the tips. Yeah, no worries. They're important, right? It's a like, learning how to find information is more important than knowing the information, because you can find the information, make the thing, and forget about it. You know what I mean? It's you know, because the rest will come with experience. Experience will teach you, right? Failing making the thing will ingrain it in your brain, right? Like a way of doing something. You know, failure will teach you that. But until failure, you know, teaches you the thing and, you know, forces it in your head, being able to find things quick is the most important skill. More than anything. Anyway, that's my TED talk as I distract myself from actually getting this done. Because I don't, yeah, it makes no sense to me why if we're instantiating these buttons, in the grid and then we're sizing them, unless, hang on, maybe when we're adding them and we're setting the position, I wonder if we, yeah, I wonder in add child, hang on a second, can we give it a position by default? Yeah, because I wonder if we could like update it. I've already failed at my first game, so I guess I was worried about making my second game. You're going to fail at your first game. Is it your first game? This is my first game. I probably won't succeed. You know, I hope I do, because I don't really look at it as my first game, because it's a collection of many projects that I'm slowly making and pushing into this thing, which is Unforgiven Space. But like the Unity version, you know, got canned, right? We built it in Unity and it didn't work out, you know, so we moved it over to Godot. Will we find roadblocks in Godot? So far we haven't, but it doesn't mean they don't exist. But we can change scope if that happens, right? Because it's like even in Blender, right? Every day you're working in Blender, you're becoming a better artist, and you're always going to be better than the art you made before, and then the art you made before is always going to be shit, right? There's no way you can look at something you made last year and be like, oh man, that was so good, because you grow. You know what I mean? You fail and you grow and you gain experience. But my first game in Unity, I moved over to Game Maker 1.4 and then rushed to make it in 6 months. You know, it's yeah. And don't concern yourself too much with failure. Just make the game. I wonder, is it the layout direction? Like the internal layout direction? We're doing left or right container. This is a child of the VBox. Yeah, so the VBox spawns the inventory grid. The inventory grid is left or right. Because I would actually really like to figure out why the behavior is actually doing that, given that we're spawning them in specifically left to right. So like this works. I add in four more, but it doesn't. It's like down and up moves vertically, which is weird, right? It's like it down moves over. I don't understand. And I don't think as a game developer, I prefer to rest. We're close to the singularity. You prefer to rest? What do you mean? Yeah, like why? I'm actually like curious now. I'm gonna pre-populate that with a bunch of these buttons. Right, because we're top left ordered. Inherited based on birthday. And alternatively, we could just turn this into a grid container itself. I'm curious as a grid container if it'll behave itself in the way that it should. Mm-hmm. All right, so in a grid container, it works. But the selector needs to move out of there. Oh, hang on, why are we scrolling? Oh. Okay, we won't need a selector. Beating stuff up. This is Pixel. He's the bum, but he's cute. He likes to develop what we're developing. Yeah, so we can put it in a grid, and it'll work. But we'll need to actually define the column type based upon the grid X, and then we're also going to need to not have anything else in there in the grid for visual representation. So we had to move the selector down, and then not use the local mouse position from the inventory grid. I have to use the global. Well, anyway, guys, it is 10. I'm going to leave it here, and I'll refactor this to work with a grid tomorrow and get it working. Yeah, because one thing I don't like about the grid is like you can't have any other weird things in the scene inside the grid. But at least the grid itself is behaving normally. Like it's automatically setting the neighbors of the children, which is important and makes sense. Chat with you later. Have a great day. Yeah, and guys, if you're interested, jump into the Discord, and I'm going to end it here on the socials and the other platforms. We'll go raid someone. I'm going to play an hour of Star Wars, and that'll be it. Thank you guys again. Just remember the game is fully funded by you guys. If you guys are interested in helping, check out Patreon Monolithic. That is the studio. $5 gives you access to early builds, and it is absolutely no pressure or anything. But just if you're interested, and we'll keep working on the game, keep making it playable, and hopefully we'll get this inventory system finished by next week. The goal is to get the UI part done for the weekend. Next week we'll do the multiplayer stuff, and then hopefully it all works. Either way, we'll get whatever we have working pushed Sunday. So later.